And so, Lord, as we hear their story, may we be aware of how you are working in our stories as well, how you're redeeming and reconciling and giving us purpose. And so we're thankful. We give you praise for what you've done in this family and how SunWest could actually be a part of that. And so I pray you would open our hearts and our minds to how you want to speak to us, inspire us, and challenge us this morning. In Jesus' name, amen.
Living in a small place, like a countryside of El Salvador, rural place, just living as a farmer, it's not like a life that you really want to have, because the income is very minimum. Because as a farmer, you just go work for somebody else, and at that time, I used to get paid just around $5 a day, which is just like from 6 a.m. till like 11:30 in the morning. So it's not the full day. But even though to raise your kids and bring what they need for food and more, it was not enough. And that's the life that I grew up in, like a very humble family, Christian family for sure. And I think we had what we needed, like not like money or big things to have, but we have love in our family with my parents and everything, and my brother, my sister. But there was a need of something else, at that time when I grew up. Also at that time, I would say that it was nothing like these days. Kids, they have like access to internet and all that stuff. Nothing like that when I grew up. We used to play with rocks or whatever, and we had fun. It was a good childhood for sure. But with minimum material stuff. The violence in El Salvador was like really bad at that time, but somehow, because we used to live in a small rural place, it didn't hit too much as in the city. But even though you were not able to go to visit a family in the city because it was dangerous to go, you could probably enter the community, but you didn't know if you were going to be able to get out of the community. It was really hard. I remember last time I visited my grandma was when I was like 12 years old. I never did it anymore because that community was really bad in San Salvador. But somehow at some point the gang activity started to move like to small places like my village too. And around 2015 probably is when it started to hit really bad with some kids that I always saw around the community. Those kids started to get together with bad people, and at some point started to get really, really dangerous. There were some murders in my village too, people that I knew, and people that I knew that killed those other fellows,
I would say I remember a lot of my childhood. I remember most of my sisters. I think it was a little bit better than when my dad grew up. But still, we had a small house. My very early years, I don't remember having a TV. So I played with, I didn't have a lot of toys either. So I played with anything I found, leaves, rocks. And I had a lot of neighbors around and cousins to play with. So it was fun. It was good.
At the time I got engaged with Shelter, I would say that I think Shelter was already running for about five years probably, but not fully in the country. It was just randomly some teams going down to build 1, 2, 3 houses here and there, nothing really organized. But then at some point I remember seeing these gringos, we used to say, right? Because anybody down there is white, you say, oh, gringos, right? But yeah, okay, whatever. I used to see those group of people building houses for some people in my community, and I was like, oh, that's cool. okay. At that time, I have my family already. Ali was already born. So, and then at some point, I remember Pastor Jorge Villera means a lot for me because he was the leader at that time of this organization. He was the one organizing where they were going to go to build a house, you know. And at some point, I remember he came to my parents' house, and he told them that they were going to build a house for them because they needed a house, a decent house too, right? And then I remember that then this team from Toronto, from Niagara Falls, came, and this team is very special for me because it's the first Canadians that I got engaged to, like to be able to tag, to spend time with them. Because Pastor Jorge Villera told me he asked me if I wanted to go and help them. And once again, being a farmer, you don't have like a job that you gotta go every day. It's just like they call you, I don't know, can you come and help me today or for 2 days? So I didn't have anything like serious to go to work every day. So I said, yeah, I am free. I'm gonna go and help. And then I remember I started going with them, talking with them, helping them to build a house for my parents and also for another neighbors around, right? And then I think it was God that guided everything like perfectly to my life. Because then at that time, when that week everything finished, we built all the houses. They did the key giving ceremony, really emotional to everybody. Then I remember the next week, Pastor Jorge called me and he told me, would you like to come and help us like with all the teams and being able to get some little money? And it was like, he was going to pay me, I think, $10 a day, which it was more than whatever I was getting paid as a farmer. And I was like, oh, this is a good opportunity for me because I always wanted to learn English, right? And I always was asking questions to the Canadians that I met that first team, right? And then I started working with them, and then they used to go to that church in San Vicente to have like a special service on Sunday when the teams arrived to San Vicente, and they were gonna go next week to work, right? They were gonna gather at the church with the family that were gonna receive a house that coming week. So, and then we started attending that church. And then at some point, I remember that they mentioned that we were gonna have two families coming from Canada to be missionaries for like full-time missionaries in El Salvador for this organization. That if I'm not wrong, at that time the name wasn't Shelter yet; it was World Partners, I think. Still, I'm not 100% sure, but then, anyways, I remember that afternoon and that service, these two families show up with a bunch of kids they had, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then somehow I think Pastor Jorge kind of introduced us because it was me plus another two friends from my community that we were working for them at that time, but not like seriously, but yeah, going with them every day, right? And then we started talking to like Stuart and Trent. They spoke a little English, Spanish at that time, and yeah, we started talking with them, and that's when everything started. Yeah, and I ended up working for Shelter for 7 years, and yeah, Shelter means a lot. First time I heard about SunWest was right at the moment when we started working with Berstas and the McAllisters. Because somehow, I was always asking questions. I think that, I don't know if it's my strongest part or whatever, or it's the other side, but whatever. I like to ask questions all the time. And I remember that because I knew that the first team I met were coming from a church name called Bethany Church in Niagara Falls. And then I asked them, like, where they were coming from, and then they mentioned they were coming from a city called Calgary, and a church called SunWest. And I was like, okay, that's cool, and everything stopped there, right? And I didn't know how much impact this was going to have in the future for me to that name SunWest meaning that much for me and my family at this point. Okay, so we met these two families from SunWest Calgary in Canada. We started working together, building houses for people. We went to many communities to build houses for people in need. It was so good to be working shoulder to shoulder with the family. It was not just with Trent and Stuart. It was it was Caroline and Carrie, and also the kids with us too. It was really fun. The kids used to go play around with the other kids in the neighborhood. And while we were building the house with some help of the more community leaders and everything. And I remember at some point, that's what I always feel, that God guided everything like perfectly in my life up to today. I feel that he has been always with me. And I remember that at some point, I never asked for a house, because our house wasn't like, it was a very small house. It was really hot because it was one of the regular like roofing stuff, like those aluminum sheets. Those are really hot, like especially living in El Salvador when you have, it's really hot, right? So, and Ali was just around 5 years old, and then at that time, Naomi was less than a year old. So it was quite tough. Our like kitchen kind of stuff was inside the house. So, and we used like firewood to cook at that time in El Salvador. So it was smoky all the time. So it wasn't like healthy and safe for the kids and for us too, right? But I remember that at some point, Trent and Stuart, they just told me, we're gonna build a house for you. And that was a boom in my brain. I was like, what? I felt just like all God power like on me at that moment, right? Being able to receive that big gift that was gonna be for me, my family. It was really, really wonderful. And then at that moment, I remember they told me, okay, you gotta tear down your old house and we're gonna start right away. And yeah, and I did it that way with some help, and we started like getting everything ready, and got my house. And then at that time, I mean, even I think I just knew it like way later on, because I never knew who donated the house for me. But I just remember seeing these two ladies coming from Canada. It was two ladies coming from Canada for the like small key giving ceremony. It's just similar to whatever we do in Mexico, but and they came and then did everything. It was so emotional. We all cried. We have some pictures about that. It was really special for us at that moment when we received our like the key of a better house, like healthy floor, because it was full concrete, really well done. The previous one was like just like dirt, technically. Whatever you guys see in Mexico, that was exactly the same way. So that's why I just feel that it was incredible. After the house was built, we lived in that house for about 6.5, 7 years. And I always dreamed about coming to Canada. I always had dreams. I have dreams still, right? And once again, I'm gonna put God on top of this, because he always has to be there. God has always been giving me all these dreams I had. And one of those was like coming to Canada. And I remember that we used to talk to Trent about coming to Canada. And he always talked to me about his company that he had here, construction company, something that I was always like kind of doing in my life. And he kind of mentioned a little bit about the idea of helping me to come here and work for him. But anyways, everything like ended up being like that. A year and a half later on that they were there, they had to come back to Canada, so they came back. And then I just keep working for shelter. Then as a full-time worker, then the organization started to be like more solid, more like organized and everything. And so I did that for about 6.5, 7 years with them, meeting a lot of excellent, like really good people from Canada, like getting more connections, more relationship with them, like being able to learn English was a big, big gift for me. And then at some point in time in 2016, I remember around November probably, if I'm not wrong, he sent me an email and he told me, you know what, I have decided that I'm gonna help you come to Canada. And I remember this word, I'm gonna start rolling stone right away. And then I was like, okay, I'm ready. And then he started with the process that involves to get all the papers done. And in April 2017, I got the news that I got approved for a work permit to come to Canada. And that was another boom in my life, because I was like so like excited about the idea, like dreaming more about a better future, especially for my daughters. It was incredible. And then in the middle of everything, SunWest was there in my future dreams, and I was like, okay, if I move to Canada, I guess I'm gonna go to SunWest, and I guess I may have the opportunity to be part of one of the worship teams there. And just an idea at that time. And then in June the 3rd, we moved to Canada. It was a Saturday. Next day was a Sunday, and guess what? We came to SunWest. So we've been attending SunWest for over 7 years, and once again, a man with a lot of dreams. That's me. I always dreamed to go back somewhere and do something similar as what the Canadians did to me and to other families in El Salvador, which is provide a better like place to live, right? A better like a house. And once I moved here and I started attending SunWest, I started hearing about that SunWest team going to Mexico to build houses, and that idea started to get into my head once again. And I'm like, okay, this could be my opportunity to achieve this dream, to this goal of going and help somebody the way I got helped at that time, right? And but legal papers take time, so immigration papers and all the stuff. And I remember Trent was always telling me, and I really appreciate, if there is something I want to highlight on this video, is the Berstads and the McAllisters. These two families means a lot for me. Different reasons, but they means a lot for me. And Trent has been always there for me, giving me support, his family. It's incredible. I love these people too much. And he was always like talking to me about, I can't wait to that time when you come to Mexico with us. You gotta come with us. And I was like, yes, when it's the right time, I'll be there. And then we start working hard to try to get all these immigration papers done to be able to do it properly and legally, right? To go down there, and easier too, right? And then at the end, I ended up getting my permanent residency. And then I just went right away to get a visitor visa to the States to be able to go on this trip, and for other reasons too. And then, in 2023, it was my first opportunity to go down to Mexico, and it was exactly what I dreamed. Being able to help somehow to a family in need. And I remember once I got there, I just feel like it was my life in the past. I think that I don't have to ask anything to these families down there, because I understand everything pretty much about their type of life, about what they struggle with. So I don't have to make many questions. I understand right away and that made me feel so engaged. And then this last trip was able to go with my daughter, which means way more for me because I was able to go there and see her shine over there too, and I'm pretty sure she was able to remember her childhood too, because it was same as all those kids playing around when they see people from another country coming, and they always want to tag along and play with them, and it's exactly the same in El Salvador. And that's why I think that this trip means a lot for me and Ali so far. Yeah.
I've always been very like reserved. I'm very introverted. So when I got here, it was a bit difficult at the start because I was really nervous about everything. Everything was new. I didn't know how to speak the language, so it was very scary. Yeah, school. I remember the first year, the first few months were tough because I didn't know anybody, and I couldn't really communicate with them. But there were a lot of nice people that approached me and tried to speak a little bit of Spanish to get their point across, or to try to get to know me, and that was really good. Yeah, I think that gave me the confidence to start speaking more and start learning more. Yeah, the first year in grade 6, I did attend the youth groups at SunWest. And I remember they were really fun. We went on a lot of really fun trips, and I met a lot of people as well, and I got to practice my English. Yeah, but then I stopped in, I think, maybe grade 8, attending as often because it was just a tough time. I was very nervous about a lot of things, and with big groups of really excited and really like happy teens. I don't know, I felt very conflicted, and I think the Mexico trip really brought me back to that. At the start, I was really nervous because I knew it would be the same people that are youth all the time, and I was really scared. But yeah, being with them the whole time really helped me get back to, I don't know, enjoy my youth again, and sort of be able to open up to people and yeah, sort of introduce myself to that community that I'd always wanted to be part of. Really, it was just yeah, I was always too scared to step up, and I was scared of being approached by these young people, but they were all so awesome on that trip, and that really helped me to get back and get to know that community. The Mexico trip for me meant so much. Yeah, and it was also a dream I shared with my dad, to go and help people and to yeah, to be someone that the kids there would get excited about, and especially knowing the language that they speak, to be able to translate for them. It was a big dream for me as well. Yeah, like I said before, it was also special because I got to make a community. I got to be a part of a community, and to make a lot of friends, and feel heard, and feel understood, and feel a part of something, which was so great. Yeah, and getting to help people just gives me so much satisfaction and joy. It was so awesome to get to meet so many families who have very similar stories to the one I have. Many kids who are growing up in these places that they don't have a safe home. They don't have a door that locks, or walls that protect them from the cold. little babies, little kids that don't, that's all they've known. And it's so awesome to get to go and give them a smile, and just bring them so much happiness, and give the parents comfort, with a home that they know will be safer and better. And yeah, it was so awesome.
Okay, I think that one of the most special moments on these trips to build houses for people, either is shelter or the Mexico trip. I think the top part of everything is the key ceremony. And this last time we went there, it was extra special for me because Ali was there with us too, and I wanted her to. I mean, I'm not an expert on translating, but I want her to start like practicing and getting more like feel that freedom of translate in front of more people, right? And I remember that we gathered all the families with us, with everybody together, and each team that built that house for this family was gonna come and give some words, and then the family was gonna give some words back. And it was a really exciting moment to being able to pass that megaphone to Ali, and she being able to do that. She's way better than me because my English is not the best, but hers is way better. So it was really exciting to see her like. And then I remember I moved back because it was video or pictures or whatever. And I think I just moved back, and I was like there just seeing her like do the talking and everything. It was really good. And then at the end she was gonna come, Dad, did I do that properly? And I was like, yeah, that was good.
There's introvert Ali. Who's nervous about coming on the trip, and now you're in front of 200 people with a megaphone translating. Can you describe that for you? Like, were you afraid, and how did it feel once you had done that?
Yes, I was really scared. The family that I was building for, the mom of the family was leaving early because she had to work. So we did just a special key ceremony for them, just with them. And that's where my dad told me that I would go and translate, and I would start with them. So because it was a team that I've been working with for a few days, I was sort of okay with it, and I immersed myself into that for the first time at that moment. And then a few minutes later, we were out there with 6 families and all the teams, and it was a lot of people, and I was really scared. I was shaking. I was really scared because it was a lot of people, and I was very scared of talking in front of them. But having my dad there gave me a lot of comfort because I knew that he would understand what I was doing, and he wanted me to do it as well. So I did it, and yeah, as soon as I said the first words for the first family in front of all of them, all the fear went away. Yeah. It was really cool to get to translate. I love doing that. I do it all the time for my mom, and it's so awesome. And doing it for other people that I don't know, but I understand them, was so great. It was so great to get to sort of not just share their words, but also what they were feeling with my words and in the way I was translating, and sort of reflecting their feelings and my feelings, and sharing them with everyone else. It was so awesome to get to.
I think that's a very important part about being there and being the translator, is that we identify with these people, right? Whatever they said, we understand that 100%, and we can pass that word to all the people that doesn't understand properly, because we somehow we know their life, because it's the same kind of life we used to live, right? Mm-hmm. And this is I mean, going to Mexico and everything is so, it's just, it's something that I can't explain. It's so wonderful for me. But having her there with me this year was way better somehow, because I saw Ollie changing a lot. You know what? I got so impressed. It's when we got to the last stop that we cleaned all the vans over there. And she told me, and I think Colton pulled a bunch of kids apart. And then she came, and I was like, what happened? What's going on? And she was like, they want me to speak in front of, on stage, SunWest. And I was like, are you gonna do it? Because that's something like biggest, right?
For me.
And she was like, yes. I was like, are you sure? And she was like, yes. And then she did it. I was like, wow, I was so proud of her. And yeah, I just saw her changing like a lot. Because in a different situation, she was not gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
But she did it. What I'll say is this. Whoever has been coming down to either Shelter Canada trips or the Mexico trips, you guys may have an idea of how you guys have changed the life of these people in these countries. But there is way more behind, and my family is an example of it. You guys coming down to these countries to build houses for people in need means so much for these families. Some families struggle more than others, but the gift at the same time is the same for everybody. And there is something behind that you guys never see, and it's that impact that these trips, that these help make for these families in these countries. So, and if somehow you guys feel afraid about traveling or going in these mission trips or giving some support somehow for these houses that people need down there, I will encourage people to do it, because even a minimum donation or whatever, or just coming in these trips, you guys will receive so much, that feeling that you guys will feel when you guys are there about helping somebody. But way behind of everything, there is something biggest, that is this impact that you guys will make in these families, in these countries where life is different than here. It's harder, it's more difficult. It's hard to be able to get money to buy an aluminum sheet to put some in the roof of these people's houses. There is rain, there is people like houses like dripping water into the houses all the time when there is rain. So it means more than something material, it means something emotional for them. So I will encourage people to help, or if you are able to go on these trips, do it. It means a lot for these people down there.
What a great story. I had the opportunity to have Allie in my Mexico van when we drove down to Mexico this past year. And my highlight from the Mexico trip was that moment that Allie got up and translated in front of all those families down there and all of our SunWest group. And I was just really aware in that moment that there were so many parts of that story that came together, from her being able to speak the language, understanding the culture, coming to Canada, going back down to Mexico, and then translating for families that were in a similar story that she was in years ago, and how God had kind of brought that moment full circle. It was a beautiful moment. And so as we watch a story like that, obviously there's a number of implications, and we do a number of trips at SunWest, and it's a good opportunity for us to highlight those briefly. Obviously, that Youth Mexico trip we do every spring break, and we'll continue to do that. We also continue to send El Salvador teams every year. They're smaller teams, and I had the opportunity to go on this trip a couple of years ago, and it was incredibly impacting, the amount of families that you're able to connect with and impact in a very short amount of time. And SunWest has been involved from the very inception of Shelter, as you heard in that video. And we've been sending people down to El Salvador in some form for almost 20 years. And there is a trip that's going down again, as we usually do in November. And there's an information night on September 11th here at SunWest at 7 o'clock. If you feel the tug to be a part of that trip this year, it's not too late. I know there's still spots available, and they'll be leaving in November, mid-November. And there's an info night on September 11th, 7 o'clock here. You can come and be a part of that trip. The other thing that I'm mindful of as we listen to that story was a pattern that I just see God not only did in their lives, but continue to do in everybody's life. And that's how God uses our pasts for our purpose. That often the things that God saves us from is the things that he saves us for. And the beautiful arc of that story is how God obviously used Noe and Ali in a way that other people impacted them previously in their life. But when we put the mirror on ourselves, it makes us ask the question of, what does that mean for you and me? The past that we often run from as God redeems us and saves us and heals us, we have an experience and a life and an opportunity to go walk alongside other people that might be in a similar situation to where we were. And so perhaps you're in one of those situations, and this morning is about hope, and I hope you feel hope this morning. But perhaps, you've been not paying attention to your past and what God has brought you out of, and this might be a good reminder this morning to say where God has brought you out of, he might be sending you back to do something for someone else that someone else did for you. To be God's hands and feet in a very practical way. It might not be building houses in Mexico, but it might be somebody going through a similar situation that you found yourself on the other side of. And so I pray that God would be leading you and inspiring you to how he wants you to continue to live your story this morning. We're going to respond as we close by worshiping together. I'm going to invite you to stand with us as the band leads us.
Walking around these walls, I thought by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won. You have never failed me yet. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail me. The night won't last. Your word will come to pass. My heart will sing your praise again. And Jesus, you're still enough to keep me within your love. Sing your praise again. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed in your promise. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail me yet. sing your promise. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail me. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail me yet.
Well, it's been great to be together this morning. I hope you feel encouraged, inspired, and challenged to live out that story that God is writing in your life and also in our lives collectively. There's going to be prayer teams at the front if you'd like prayer for anything. We would love to pray for you and connect with you. And with that said, looking forward to kicking off this next ministry season next Sunday. So looking forward to that barbecue together. We'll see you next Sunday. Have a great week.
Thank you.